Okay, let's get on to our listening part C. So as we know, we have students who've been attending for some weeks and other students who are brand new. It could be your first lecture. Okay, so just to do a quick breakdown of listening part C, okay, you will get two long audios to listen to, okay? Each are around 5 minutes long, okay? Now, it could firstly be an interview, always with a healthcare professional, but it won't necessarily be a doctor. It could be a nurse, a midwife, a vet, an occupational therapist, a speech and language therapist. It could be any one of the 12 healthcare areas that you share for the listening and reading. Or secondly, it could be a lecture, meaning a presentation. There's no one asking the questions on a health-related topic. You'll tend to see as well, they tend to pick hot topics, you know, kind of what's new in the world. They're not going to take things from like 20 years ago, okay? So it's really important to be listening to pods, TED Talks, BBC Health Reports, things like that on all 12 healthcare areas. Just don't stay in the area that you're familiar with, okay? It's multiple choice. So unlike reading where you get 8 questions per text, this one you get 6 questions per answer, and there's 3 choices per question. Okay, so that's a layout of the part C part for anyone who is new to the exam. Okay. So let's talk about some strategies. Whereas listening part A is all about listening for detail, listening part B then moves on to test your ability to listen for detail, but also kind of like purpose, gist, okay? Then listening C goes on a further step, okay? You have to understand the main idea of the communication, understand the purpose of it, and the real big thing here that you won't find in the previous sections is identifying the speaker's opinion. So in no way are they testing your knowledge of the subject. They are testing, can you understand what the person speaking thinks about the subject? Or they could share the opinions of others about the subject. But the questions themselves are not about the subject, okay? This is an English language exam, okay? It is not testing your skills of medical knowledge, nursing knowledge, or whatever allied profession you may have. Okay, so pre-listening strategies, okay, you get 90 seconds. Read the question stems very carefully, slow down and read them in detail. Okay, obviously, depending if you're doing the exam on paper or online, you will have it, you're obviously online, you're not going to have a pen or pencil in your hand, okay? But underlining or highlighting keywords from the question is a very good strategy, okay? Some people feel they only have time to do that in the question, that they don't really have time to process which words they want to do in the options. They want to underline, and other people do. Every student is different. So if you're new to the world of OET, don't worry about giving yourselves 90 seconds. If you want to allow 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, if anything, we encourage you to do that, okay? Don't set yourself a time limit at the start, especially the first couple of papers you do. Give yourself extra time and practice the strategy. Slow down and recognize which keywords you would want to underline. Obviously, if your test is coming up in the next few weeks, then you want to be doing things in test-ready conditions, okay? While you listen, it may sound really simple, but definitely from my one-to-one classes, definitely noticing some students just really struggle to focus. Concentration can go out the window, whether it's pressure of the exam, or just there's someone who gets easily distracted. Before they know it, they're thinking about what they need to do after the lesson, okay? So really, really put your mobile phones away, put them on silent. And, you know, if there's anyone else living in your house, just tell them to leave you alone for 45 minutes while you do a paper, okay? Pay attention to signal words used by the speaker to emphasize key points or show relationships between ideas. Be on the lookout for synonyms, okay? If you don't have a wide variety of vocab, you are going to find this hard, because 9 times out of 10, the correct option will not be any of the exact words that you've heard, but they will be synonyms. So you should be building up word banks, okay, as you practice. If you're doing it on paper, then obviously you can take some notes on the side, okay? If you're doing it online, you won't be able to do this, okay? But once again, if you are totally new, this might be something you just practice anyway, okay, if you are totally new, okay, and find concentration hard. Maybe if you have to write down some keywords or points that you will hear, it will help you to concentrate. Okay, and then try to rule out incorrect answers as you listen so that you are left with just the select correct answer. Okay, any questions about these core skills or strategies before we move on to look at the paper? Any questions? All clear so far? Anyone got their exam coming up soon before the end of the month, out of interest? Anyone got their exam coming up before the end of the month? Yes. Anyone else? Okay, May. Okay, so potentially just one person who's got it coming up in the next couple of weeks. Okay, one last important thing to share. It is not enough to be able to pick out particular words or details in Part C. Don't fall for this trick, okay? You need to be able to understand the overall meaning of what the speaker is saying. Yeah, you need to be able to follow a line of thought to identify opinions and attitudes. Do not fall for the bait. And because you hear one or two words that are in an option, does not mean that option is correct. This is something that happens quite a lot when you are new to the world of OET and you start recognizing the types of questions and options and start avoiding to fall for this type of bait. Okay. So today our practice task is an interview. So somebody will be asking the questions with Dr. Christian Thomas, who is talking about the diagnosis of cancer and a new tool called CancerSeek. Okay. Question 1. Now we're going to listen to it again. Some of you may even want to change your answers, okay? What led Dr. Thomas and his team to do a study involving the new diagnostic tool? What are some key words here? If you were highlighting or underlining some words here, what's key words that should be underlined or highlighted in question number 1? What's the key word here in the question? Well done, Rodolphe. Led. Yeah, what are some synonyms? What's some because they're not going to say lead, are they? And they didn't. I even wrote down the synonym when I heard it. What are some synonyms of lead? Past simple of to lead. So the verb is to lead. In past simple, it's led. What was the cause? What was the reason? Yeah, so it's why. Yeah. What encouraged them to study? What made them want to study this? What was the initial reason that led them into it? Okay. So see if you can listen out for the word that was the synonym, because I did. Here's my little notes that I made. Okay. Which especially when I go back, if you are doing the paper test and do make notes, often if you make enough notes, okay, the answer can become really obvious, okay? So A, again, please don't give me your answer. I'm going to play it again. They had been directly involved in its development. B, they felt that the trialing of it was proceeding too slowly. Or C, they could see how useful it might be in detecting the disease earlier. So we'll listen again, and then I will do a poll. Here we go.
My guest today is Dr. Christian Thomas, co-author of a study into a new blood test known as CancerSeek. Dr. Thomas, can you tell us what led to the study?
Diagnosis for many cancers is a long and challenging process. Cancer remains one of the leading causes of death all around the world, and it's estimated that by 2030 the number of cancer deaths will almost double. So early diagnosis is crucial to reducing cancer-related deaths. That is, the earlier the disease is diagnosed, the higher the chances of treatment success. But sadly, many aren't caught until the later stages. And this is largely due to a lack of fast and effective diagnostic tools. And that's where research is vital. So that prompted our team to test the latest research on a relatively small group of people, and the findings have been quite encouraging. It could potentially bring us closer to a quick, simple way to detect cancer in its early stages.
Okay, so don't put your answers into the chat, please. I'm going to release a poll. Okay, so please put your answer. There's 27 of you. No answers in the chat today. We're going to use a poll, okay? Please use the poll today. So we've got, at the moment, 95% of the group are saying C, and we've got 5% saying B, okay? Okay, 95% C, just checking. Okay, so 6 people who haven't voted. Maybe you don't have an answer or you weren't able to listen. Okay, so well done. Those 95% of you who put C was correct. Okay. Now, what was the word that you heard that was the synonym of what was the synonym? Yes, prompted. So I wrote down sad, lack of fast tools prompted us, prompted. Okay, so they could see it would be very useful because there's a lack of fast screening tools available. That's how their test could be useful and what prompted them. Okay, well done. Okay, so here was the transcript. Always very important to read the transcript after you do any test. A, correctly, no one gave that. B, there was actually nothing mentioned about the speed of the trial. Nothing mentioned there, hence why there's nothing underlined. And here you can see in the second line part, okay, here is the part that really confirmed it. Any questions about that, or that was all clear? Most of you got that correct anyway. Yeah. Okay, let's so when they use the word relatively before small, what does this mean? What does relatively small mean if you had to explain what that meant? Relatively small. Could you write a synonym of that in the chat? Relatively small. Not too small. Relatively small group of people. Yeah, so it's like saying a quite small group of people. Yeah, okay, so when compared to other studies. Yeah, so well done. Somebody said when in comparison. Okay, question number 2. Again, no answers in the chat. I will launch a poll after we've listened again. Dr.